It took me a while to realize that self-realization is everything. And when I did, I wanted to share this truth with everyone. And I'm making this video today about why and how self-realization is everything, because I don't see this information out there, not in the depth or the detail that I wish to see it out there. So since you're already here, it's obvious that you are interested in self-realization, and I hope your interest is deeper than the usual approach, which is intellectual. Because this channel is about depth and clarity and structure in your self-realization. It is about getting the struggle out of your self-realization, because it is important, it matters how you go about your self-realization once you've had that realization moment, once you've woken up or you've seen your true nature. And what happens next, what comes next, is to stabilize that understanding and feeling of yourself as infinite awareness. This is what most people don't understand. Self-realization is a process. It's not something that happens miraculously one day and that's it. That kind of realization has happened for a few people on this planet, but that's quite rare. It's not the normal way. So, welcome to the Seekers Academy. We are here to provide you clarity in your self-realization process, most of all, and understand you, make more sense of your realization process, clear the fog, and stabilize, ground your realization. So why self-realization is everything? After that first realization, after that first moment when I felt that I found what I was looking for, at the end of my 23 years of seeking and fumbling and struggling on my way to self-realization, trying to find my way out of the maze of the confusion of seeking, I wanted to repeat that experience, obviously, because that sense of relief was just everything for me. It brought me everything that I ever sought. It brought me that deep sense of peace that I'm finally home, all is well. It brought me that infinite freedom that I could feel of my true being, of my true nature, which is just boundless, unlimited, and I could feel it, experience it. And that is all. I mean, what else do I need? Because I felt complete. I felt at the end of my seeking. Nothing was missing there. So I wanted to make today's video about why self-realization is everything, to maybe inspire you or even help you make more sense of your self-realization process, or at least of your path to self-realization, because you must know there are two paths. That's how I look at them. One is the path to self-realization, which is basically the maze of seeking. And the other one is the path of self-realization, which comes after you've realized yourself and you start to stabilize and anchor that realization moment in your day-to-day life. So where are you? Are you on the path to self-realization, or are you on the path of self-realization? It is not easy to find your way out of the maze of confusion when you are on the seeking mode. And it's not easy to find your way and know what to do after you've realized your true nature. So I'm hoping that this channel is going to bring you that clarity that you seek for your own journey, no matter where you are at. I really thought about why and how self-realization is everything when you realize who you are. because then you stand in your completeness. And that knowing that you are complete, that you are absolutely enough and more than that, brings about that deep peacefulness, that sense of freedom, which comes with authenticity. You allow yourself to be who you are no matter what, because that's the most meaningful and fulfilling thing. It's everything. It literally gives you everything. I remember a few weeks back in our sessions, in one of our classes, one of our students was sharing about his experience with self-realization. We're already 2 years long into this deep dive that we're having with a group of students, and it's just a thrill to see how everybody's progressing. And he was sharing about his understanding and how he is living out his realization. And he said, as a conclusion, it is everything. And I remember I was so happy that he got that. I was so happy. And that's the reason why I'm making this video, because I am so happy to share this message with you, to let you know that everything that you ever seek, the greatest, deepest fulfillment, joy, happiness, confidence, certainty, whatever it is that you seek, it's in first knowing thyself. Self-realization, in other words. So let's break it down a little bit to see how self-realization is everything. I did not get this from the first moment, but now the more that I move forward, if you will, in my process, the more this understanding stabilizes in my being, in my everyday life. I realize how without it, it would just be devastating. Exactly how it was before I realized who I truly am, before I realized what my essential nature is. And I've spent 23 years in that maze of seeking and confusion and fumbling, and it was devastating. It was disheartening. It was frustrating, disappointing. I cannot even express the pain that I felt, because after 20 years of seeking, I still didn't find that which everybody was talking about. In the teachings and all the videos that I watched, the books that I read, the talks from the spiritual masters that I've listened to, they were all talking about that absolute peace and serenity and simplicity that I couldn't find even after 20 years. And I was so disheartened, so disappointed in myself, even ashamed that after so many years, I still didn't find, I still didn't know how to get there, to that freedom, to that deep peacefulness everybody was talking about. And I was craving so much. And to make it worse, I didn't even realize what was I missing, what was I doing wrong, what is it that I didn't get. In this time, I lived in an ashram for 23 years, and this whole time, not only doing the practices that we're supposed to do in an ashram, but also studying in a yoga school for 23 years, and still no clarity. I felt, I don't have the word for how I felt, because there was so many emotions in there. And I felt devastated that, because my biggest pain was not having that peace, that deep peace to center in whenever an emotional trigger would happen. So for 23 years, I was lost in the maze of seeking. I had to reach the conclusion after all that time to really be honest with myself and admit that I didn't know what I was really doing. I didn't know what I was doing, and there has to be another way. And that's when it hit me. When I reached rock bottom, it hit me that I was already that which I sought. It was the first time when it truly made sense to me. why am I still seeking for myself? Why is it that everybody tells you to seek for yourself if you already are that which you seek? It just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. And that moment of clarity when I realized, wait, this doesn't make sense. Seeking is not the solution. If I already am that which I seek, this has to be an instant moment where I just see who I am or what I am. There's nowhere to go to seek for myself if already I am that which I seek. So that was a huge moment of clarity for me that truly changed everything, because it changed the direction of my path. Up until that moment, I was on the path to self-realization. So I was in seeking mode, seeking for myself. And I realized that this is such a big pain that the seeker is going through, because even though the teachings tell you that you are that which you seek, they also still tell you to seek for yourself. So a belief is created. I have to seek myself to find myself. And that's what we all do in all of these techniques. And it makes sense that we are lost in a maze of seeking and disheartened because nothing works. Nothing can work. Because there's nothing that is outside of you that will show you who you are or will get you somewhere to a point where you will discover who you are. It doesn't work like that. All you need is to stop and see, right? That is how it works. But the biggest problem is, and I find this every time with all of the people that I'm talking to and my students, if you tell someone just stop and just be, it's difficult for them to understand what does that even mean. How do you mean just be? Because we've been taught and we've been training it just seeking, the mind doesn't know how to rest in its source. So that is why we need teaching. Otherwise, there's no teaching to tell you how to find yourself. You already are yourself. You don't need to find yourself. All you need is to see who you are or what you are. And that is the role of the teaching. That is the role of the Seekers Academy as well. To teach you where to look in order to see. So that was my turning point when I just realized I already am that which I seek. I don't know how I missed that for 23 years. It's just crazy. But I did. And I know that many seekers are in that place because we realize this truth in the beginning and then we just get lost in the seeking. We get lost in the accumulating techniques and teachings, and we think that that's the answer. It is not. That's not going to get you to your essence. It's just going to make you feel more lost, just like it happened for me. So I don't want the same thing for you. The reason for my existence is to get the struggle out of your spiritual journey. So I didn't even understand what I was missing back in the days. I do now, and that's what I'm here to tell you. And that moment of realization, or that moment of clarity, changed the trajectory of my path. Because instead of being on a path to self-realization, I started to seek for something, a method, something that will show me how to instantly shift my perception or perspective to actually see who I am. It had to be instant. I knew that. So that's what I did. I went out and looked. It's a long story on how I got to it, but I did find something that helped me seeing who I am. at will anytime. And I know that this is a problem for many seekers on the path, to repeat that insight, that clarity of who you are, or that moment of awakening, if you will. I know that many people go through this. It's like a sample that we receive of what we are, and then most people chase that experience. But the simplest way to do this is to find a way, to find a compass, to find your way back, to trace your way back to yourself every time you lose sight of yourself. That's basically what the whole realization process is about. But navigating this stabilizing of this understanding of yourself as infinite awareness is what's not that easy. Getting to that clarity of how to navigate your path is what's not that easy. So it changed my trajectory, that moment of clarity, and it led me to find a way to always find myself. And then eventually I started to, after a while, after this realization started to stabilize within my being, the more I practiced, because I did practice. What I practiced was finding my way back to myself, being in that felt understanding of myself, taking the stand experientially as infinite, ever-present awareness. That's how self-realization gets stabilized, by repeating that felt understanding experientially as much as possible. And I was a fanatic. I was a nerd in understanding self-realization and how it works. And it made sense. Why? Because for 23 years I just saw it in confusion. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea where I was going. Yes, I did have an idea, but not really. It was just in my mind, right? I knew I had to reach that peace. That was it. I knew that I had to feel, to become one with the absolute, to feel that sense of oneness, but I didn't know how to get there. I was just practicing, hoping that one day this will happen, like everything will click and I will just get it, but it wasn't like that. After the moment when I found how to find myself and find my way back to being, I had to repeat that over and over and over and over again until it started to sink in. And that's when I knew I can count on this. I knew I could count on myself. This sense of peace started to settle in. Finally, I felt more open to enjoy life fully. I felt more free to be myself. I felt more confident on what I was doing because I could see it's working. And it truly gives me those moments of peace that I was craving. It truly gives me that presence in the midst of challenges, of emotional triggers, of stress. That gave me confidence. It gave me certainty. I could see that I'm more authentic. I'm no longer preoccupied with things that are not real, not true. And it just felt so good. Only after I realized how easy it actually is, looking back in hindsight of all of my experience, I realized how much I struggled. How much I struggled and strived to find that which I already was. Can you relate? I fully hope that this speaks to you, because it will just help you see that you're not alone, and that has a solution. It doesn't have to be like that endlessly, and you don't have to do it alone. For the longest time I believed that if I struggled, that struggle was the realization path. That struggle was supposed to be there. I had to suffer in order to see who I really was at the end of that suffering. But that is not how it is. That's not necessary. So don't think that you have to struggle to find yourself. No, you can put an end to that struggle and seeking now if you so choose. There is a way out of that maze, and I'm here to offer you that, but more about that later. Because now I want to talk about what real self-realization actually is, because many people think they understand it, but they're only in the mind about it. They have ideas about it, and that's also something that can be blocking and hindering our self-realization process. The beliefs that we have about what it's supposed to be and who we are supposed to be like as seekers on the path. And it makes me laugh right now because that is just so dumb. It is. But I know that we are all caught up in this what do I call it? Mirage. It's like a mirage. It's like it's enchanting you, and it's catching you in its maze, and you just go and do an effort and seek and consume teachings and practices, and you think that that is what's going to get you to self-realization. It's not directly. What's going to get you to self-realization is you finally having enough of that seeking, and in that moment you will decide, this has been enough. This is enough. You can't quit, because you know that that's where the answer is, in you realizing yourself. What self-realization really is, in very simple terms, from my own understanding, it is this: knowing that you are that which is aware, knowing through direct experience, I am that which is aware of my experience, seeing that, being aware of that. And the second part is also knowing the nature of that which is aware. The nature of yourself, which is ever present, unconditionally fulfilled, and inherently peaceful. But this has to be a felt understanding. It has to be a direct experience, you experiencing yourself as ever present, inherently peaceful and complete. This doesn't work if it's just in your head. You just understand that is your nature. So the first step is be aware that you are aware. The second step is know your nature directly. So this is all happening in direct experience. This is the self-realization moment where I realize I am that which is aware of my experience. I am being, I am the awareness. And the second, to realize what is my nature. That's what enlightenment is, or self-realization. Now, this is a process. After the first moment, this is a process, because one moment is not enough for most of us, only for a few. And then after we have this realization, we have to repeat it, to stabilize it, to anchor it in our day-to-day life. And that's what's going to change everything. So I hope this is clear for you. If you feel like you don't know what I'm talking about, if you feel like you want more clarity, go ahead and look through the videos that I have on this channel. Ask questions. Clarity is key in your self-realization process. Without clarity, you are just fumbling. So that is what self-realization is. And if I look back on my entire 23 years journey now I can realize what I was missing. And I'm gonna tell this to you here so that you maybe also look at your own journey. I invite you to look at your own journey right now and see what is it that is missing. What we ultimately miss is ground our realization, but how do we do it, right? First of all, we need a map. This is the 4-pillar compass, our signature program, our signature framework that we use in all of our programs. That is basically your navigation system and your map. It's your compass for your self-realization journey. How to navigate your journey after you've realized yourself. So first you need a map in order to see where you're at, what are the stages, what's the direction, what comes next. That's important, right? Because otherwise you're always guessing. Second, you need a method to trace your way back to yourself that is also going to help you stabilize your sense of self as ever-present, inherently peaceful, complete, infinite awareness. Third, you need to know how to deal with emotional healing. How to approach emotional healing in the simplest way. This is absolutely necessary on the self-realization path. You cannot avoid emotional healing. You cannot bypass it. It's a big chunk, if not the most biggest part of the realization process is emotional healing. But this has to be done with you as infinite awareness, with your awareness of yourself as the presence of awareness. That's why first you need to stabilize that sense of self for a bit, and then understand the emotional healing process, which comes with its own challenges. But again, clarity is key here. If you have clarity, if you have adequate guidance that goes to the core in the simplest way, that's when you succeed. That's when you see real progress real fast. That's how you start grounding, stabilizing, anchoring your self-realization. That's what most people don't get. And pillar number 4 of the 4-pillar compass is mastery, where you actually understand how these all work together, the 3 pillars work together, and how to navigate your path with ease, with that deep sense of knowing of what you're doing and where you're going. That's just so precious, right? And it saves you a lot of suffering. Next, I want to talk to you about why self-realization is everything. About the power, the transformative power of self-realization. Just to break it down a bit. First of all, it puts a stop to that drive to seek. It ends the search. When you realize who you are, it's an incredible relief that you feel, and you feel finally the seeking has ended. Because I found what I was looking for all along. Every single thing that we are looking to accomplish, to fulfill, to achieve, stems from the deep longing for the peace of our own being, for that completeness, to feel whole. And that cannot be fulfilled by anything else but the knowing of your own being. So it ends the search, number 1. Number 2, it heals at the root. Self-realization is the ultimate healing, because only the understanding, the felt understanding that you are complete and you are not alone, will heal the root cause of suffering, which is the sense of lack and the sense of separation. So self-realization heals the root of suffering, that is the sense of separation. And that's what allows you to live freely, to meet life from a sense of openness and love, because you no longer have to defend yourself, reject reality, and you no longer need to fulfill yourself, desire something from the outside in order to feel complete. Number 3, when you are already on the path of self-realization, already knowing yourself, life starts to become simplified. You are no longer interested in complexity, in intrigue, in stress, in non-authenticity. You start to lean more towards what is true to yourself. And that makes everything else so simple. It brings about that clarity and that peace of knowing yourself, knowing who you are, what you want, is radiating out into your entire life. Number 4, it is the answer to the quest for fulfillment and for purpose. Nothing will ever feel enough if you don't know who you are. That was my realization when I was 15. I realized that if I don't know myself, I will never feel happy. I will never be happy. And that's what set me on my quest. And here I am 30 years later, telling you that that's exactly how it is. It's true. If you don't know yourself, you cannot be happy because you will never feel enough. And nothing will feel enough. No matter what you do, no matter what you achieve, how many experiences you accumulate or teachings or information, whatever it is, it's never gonna feel enough. Because nothing can replace your essence. Nothing can bring about completeness. You are already complete. All you have to do is realize that, see that, and feel that. So fulfillment is the knowing of your own true nature. You instantly feel fulfilled because you feel your completeness. You know you were never not complete. You were never not enough. You were always whole, just not seeing it. And that's where all the suffering comes from, for us not seeing our true nature. And purpose unfolds naturally from the truth of who you are. It just flows out of you naturally. The more you stabilize this felt understanding of yourself as infinite awareness, the clearer your path becomes. But it's something simple. It's not something you figure out. It's something that comes naturally. You cannot fulfill your purpose if you don't know who you are. Then who is doing your purpose, so to speak? And last but not least, it's also putting an end of our quest for meaning. Meaning. We are all looking for meaning. But the meaning of life, the meaning of being here, is to know who you are. The lack of meaning is eating away at the hearts and minds and even bodies of people. It is painful to feel that there's no meaning to your life. So realizing yourself, seeing what you are and what your nature is the deepest meaning of all. When you realize that, everything has meaning. Life no longer feels empty. Everything feels beautiful and meaningful, radiating presence, being alive. So why self-realization is everything? Because of all of that, but because it is the foundation for everything. It is the foundation for a life lived in truth, in peace, in fulfillment, ultimately that which we call happiness, contentment, simplicity, openness, joy. Without self-realization, life feels like an endless seeking. It feels that it's never enough. Something fundamental is always going to be missing from your life. You're always going to be seeking. But there's an alternative to that. To really find yourself, or better said, see yourself, and then ground that realization into your day-to-day life. How? That's what we are teaching here at the Seekers Academy. I've put everything together here in one place for you so that you can have the clarity and the structure and the adequate guidance. That's all you need. Also, why self-realization is everything is because it aligns you with the flow of life. You no longer feel you're resisting life, you're flowing with it. Because you now feel, you know who you are, you feel confident to be opened and receive life as it is without complaining about it and rejecting it, resisting it. And also, which is so deeply fulfilling, is that it allows you to be your truest expression. It allows you to discover yourself and your truth every living moment. It allows you to live freely and just rejoice in the joy of being, simply being yourself. It allows you to live your authentic expression, and that is the ultimate purpose of life and the greatest fulfillment. So ultimately, to understand, self-realization is not just one more achievement on the path of life. It is the path. Without it, nothing has meaning. With it, everything becomes meaningful and beautiful. And to just bring this a step further, realizing that your own self-realization is not just for yourself, it's for the world. That peace that you realize is your true nature, it starts to radiate through your being. It also brings peace into the world. It brings light into the world. It brings love, simplicity into the world. And that's how our world is going to be healed, one self-realization at a time. As we begin a new year, this is the perfect time for you to let go of the chase and really focus on what truly matters, grounding your realization. And if you haven't realized yourself yet, you can do that inside the Seekers Academy. So I invite you to ask yourself your question right now. What am I missing in my self-realization process? What do I need in order to ground my self-realization? Because that is the ultimate purpose here, grounding that realization. I am inviting you and I'm encouraging you to look for more clarity rather than chasing new experiences and new techniques, to go deeper into the understanding of your own journey. And if this is something that speaks to you, if this is something you can relate to and that you want in your life, I invite you to take the next step with us. In February next year, we begin our yearly deep dive, the Seekers Mastery, where you receive everything that you need for your realization process. It's a complete program. It's a complete experience of self-realization. Starting with the basics, you receive the 4-pillar compass, you master each pillar, which is all you need. You receive the guidance for that, and then you will have access to the curriculum after you finish your deep dive with us, so that you can go back to it anytime you feel the need to ground yourself back into the truth, into the core 4-pillar compass for your navigating your realization journey. Registration is now open. You can go to the link below this video to sign up. Spots are limited because we want to ensure deep transformation for each participant. Last sign up day is January 31st. We begin in February 2025. I just think this is a marvelous time to begin grounding your self-realization, stop seeking and start living. Because some people may believe seeking is thrilling because it gives you the pain, and sometimes we're addicted to pain and struggle. It gives us a sense of identity, right? A sense of validation, but actually the thrill is in the finding and continuous discovering of your infinite nature. That's where all the beauty is. So if you want a truly deeply fulfilled life, authentic life that is based on truth, clarity, then this is the step forward, grounding your realization. Thank you for being here and taking the time to reflect on this profound truth. If you've liked this video, please like it and share it with others who might need it. Also come back for more. I will be posting valuable content for you to get clarity in your realization process, clear the fog, make sense of your journey, and ground your realization. This is the purpose of the Seekers Academy. Sign up. I hope to see you in the Seekers Mastery that we begin next year in February. Go ahead, go to the link below this video to reserve your spot now. As I said, spaces are limited. Let's make this year one of peace, joy, and grounded realization, because self-realization, it's not just everything. It's the only thing that truly makes a difference in your life. Thank you.